Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video where we're going to go over Path of Exile Mobile and why it is almost redundant in today's day and age, or it will be redundant probably when it comes out. But we're going to go look at the trailer real fast because I thought it was a pretty interesting trailer and what they actually said at the start of it. So this was actually released in ExileCon back in 2019, right next to PoE 2. So PoE 2 kind of softened the blow of this. So here to show it.
Mobile games are kind of bullshit, right? You know, pay to win microtransactions, time gates, energy bars, random nag screens, notifications, video ads. You know, you get the idea. There's really a lot of evil garbage going on in mobile games today. But in 2012, when you first released Path of Exile on PC, you really could have said the same thing about a lot of free-to-play games there too.
So back then, free-to-play wasn't really as popular of a motto. It's gotten a lot more popular over time. Most people do battle passes with free-to-play. But as you can see here, this is the mobile thing that they actually conjured up back in 2019. And back then, Diablo Immortal was not released yet. And they pretty much said that they were going to be able to do mobile gaming differently. Now, the main thing about mobile gaming is that mobile gaming is huge right now. It's probably one of the biggest markets in the world in terms of gaming. And we'll see later on that it is actually the biggest gaming market currently. So this was released during ExileCon, and I don't really know when PoE Mobile is actually coming out. Maybe it's next year or something like that. But Diablo Immortal was released this year, and even though it has some of the worst reviews ever known to mankind, it was still one of the most profitable games ever released. It generated $100 million in lifetime revenue. I think he generated this around 1 month time, and it was the second fastest mobile game to reach this milestone, just behind Pokemon Go. So you can see here that mobile games are pretty much here to stay, and it's
what it looks like.
And GGG aren't exactly dumb, right? They know exactly what to do in order to generate the money, and that's pretty much why they had the foresight to do this back in 2019 and already start developing it. Now, the nice part about what GGG is doing is that they aren't outsourcing this to some third-party company to do it, so you know this is going to be done in-house. It's going to have that nice level of GGG polish where everything is fully tested and it will feel amazing to play, so you know that this mobile game is going to be perfect. Well, I don't know about the polish and testing, but we'll see. So I didn't know that Diablo Immortal was actually developed by NetEase. I actually recently did a sponsorship for Lord of the Rings Online, or Rise to War, and NetEase actually made that game too, and it was a decent enough game. Now, as you can see here, people did not really like Diablo Immortal. Now, it doesn't really matter, it seems like, because people who spend money don't really care about the rating of the game. They only care about one thing, which is to get ahead and be better at you in real life and in the mobile game. So that's how a lot of mobile gaming started, was that people realized that there is a huge subset of the population who are rich in real life, low on time, but they still want to mess you the hell up in PvP or whatever leaderboard metric there is in mobile gaming. So there is this concept that you're able to pay, you're able to get ahead. And a lot of people who play mobile games, we'll see, are actually people who don't have that much time on their hands. So why make the mobile version of the game? And we can see here, this is pretty obvious why exactly they're actually focusing so hard on a mobile version of PoE. And Chris actually says in this, this trailer, let me see if I can find it over here, what the wonderful Chris Wilson says.
We wanted to make something that is a real Path of Exile game. We didn't just farm it out to an external studio. It's developed entirely by a team here in New Zealand. The only thing that's fundamentally different between phone games and PC games is that you expect to play for shorter game sessions on a phone. Maps are a perfect length to have the quick turnaround time required for mobile gameplay while retaining all of the deep systems that Path of Exile players expect.
So as you can see here, Chris is saying that the main difference between mobile games and PC games is the fact that you play for a shorter amount of time. For anyone who's ever tried out League of Legends or knows about it, the League of Legends Wild Rift game is much, much shorter in time than a full-fledged PC game. Now, I do think that PoE is not really that bad for mobile gaming in the sense that you can do a map or two, you can get some currency, and it's not exactly the worst experience, although you could argue that some of the maps take a very, very long time, like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see, because they're pretty much trying to make the version of PoE with no compromises whatsoever. So are you actually able to include all of that depth into the mobile version, or if they're going to do some version where it's actually less in depth than what we're used to? Now, they are developing a separate mobile version completely, so there's going to be no like saving of the progress. You can't really log on to your PC character and then be able to play it on your mobile device and then still have the progress carried over. So what this means is that it becomes very, very obvious why they actually developed this, because you can bet your ass you're going to have cosmetics, right? So you're going to have to buy all of those microtransactions you have again. You'll have to buy all of those wings. You have to buy all of the body armors. Now, maybe GGG is super kind and the progress from microtransactions will carry over. But I'm pretty sure most people can bet their house that it's not going to carry over. You're going to have to buy the stash tabs again. You're going to have to buy the currency tabs. So you're pretty much getting people who already like the game, who might play at the PC version, spending another huge sum of money. So it's pretty much creating a new source of revenue stream. And the sad part about this is that one day I wouldn't even be surprised if the PoE mobile version generated more money. Like say it got really popular, and it might honestly be the case that the mobile version could be more profitable than the PC version. And that would be a very, very scary sight. So you can see here, mobile gaming is now roughly 61% of the entire gaming market share in 2022 in terms of customer spending. So you can see here, this pink line is mobile gaming, and then this black line is actually PC and Mac gaming. And you can see consoles are actually higher than PC and Mac. So that pretty much makes sense why GGG actually focused so hard on the console. Because like a lot of times you might be wondering, why even make a console version of the game? The console is really, really bad. It's hard to have controller support. How do you even trade with people on the console? And it's just a very, very weird decision to put PoE on the console. And the reason you put PoE on the console is purely because it's actually a huge portion of the gaming market. So GGG definitely knows their research. They've definitely done it. And they know how to actually exploit the consumer for as much money as possible, how to generate as many people to play their game as possible. Now, you see here, actually, handheld consoles all the way down at 4 billion. I don't know if this includes the Nintendo Switch or Steam Deck or what that is. But you can see handheld console still has a long, long way to go. And it's pretty much, in my opinion, because people can't really be carrying around a console or a handheld console and a mobile device. It's kind of redundant. Now, next up, you have the biggest problem with mobile games. And this is probably the main reason why I personally don't play mobile games. And I have big hands, right? Look at these sides of these huge hands, right? The fingers block your vision when you play the game. I have the phone right now. My fingers are literally taking up half the screen size. I don't know if you can see it, right? So if you play it like this, how can I even see anything on the screen? It's absolutely ludicrous. I don't know how people play mobile games that actually require you to like look around, like first-person shooters or League of Legends. I literally cannot see my screen. And you might be like, oh, don't you have maybe you have a small phone. Well, I don't really have a small phone. Nothing is really that small that I own. And this is pretty much the biggest phone that you can get. I think it's the iPhone 13 Max. It's nearly 7 inches long. And it's literally just a horrible, horrible experience. Now, keeping a finger hovering down on the screen also causes a delay in your player reaction speed. So you don't also get that tactile feedback. You don't really know if what you press actually did anything because you don't have that feedback. There's no pressure sensitivity or anything like that. So the only way you can tell if some action actually got registered is if you see it in game, and that really creates this gameplay that you don't really feel like you get immediate response, and it feels kind of laggy. And another thing about touchscreen controls is that they're tied into the game's performance. So if your game is lagging or you have like a slight FPS drop, well, your in-game performance for your mobile touchscreen controls is also going to be pretty laggy. Now, the best solution in the end is using a Bluetooth controller. Now, this is the most elegant solution, and I don't really know how exactly people can make it better in the long run, but my idea is that one day you'll have a foldable like Bluetooth controller, kind of like a Swiss Army knife you can take out, you can attach to the side of your phone or something like that if you want to do some mobile gaming. And yeah, that's pretty much the best case scenario because the controller is still much better than touchscreen controls. And it's not really me complaining about it. There's so many articles that say it's not just you, even science thinks touchscreen controls suck. So it's not just me, it's science, literally. Now, if you want to know how bad mobile gaming actually is compared to PC or even controller, in like the Fortnite World Cup, no one from a mobile device actually qualified, even though they could technically have qualified. Now, this is the part about PoE Mobile that I feel like will eventually make it redundant, obviously, outside of the obvious revenue gains that you'll get from having people rebuy stash tabs or supporter packs or whatever. Now, this is Geforce Now. Now, Geforce Now was released in 2020. I think the beta started back in 2015. Now, you can play Path of Exile right now on your mobile device, and you will have zero compromise whatsoever on the depth of the game. In fact, you might even have better performance on your mobile device than on your PC. Now, you can see when Empyrean was doing some juice maps last week, he actually was playing on GeForce Now to take advantage of the computing services and cloud computing so that his game wouldn't crash. So you actually crash less on your mobile device potentially than on your $5,000 computer at home. Now, when this was released in 2020, Path of Exile was not really playable because up until recently, Path of Exile did not have controller support on the PC. So only last league was when they actually introduced, or was it 2 leagues ago? I don't really remember. But only recently did they actually introduce controller support. So right now, technically, you can actually play Path of Exile on your mobile device, and it actually looks pretty good. Like, this is someone playing, let's see here. He's playing on a Redmi Note 8 Pro, so I don't know what that is. It's probably like some knockoff device of Samsung. But you can see here, this is done with in-game touchscreen control, and it actually looks pretty smooth. Like, it looks much better than whatever mobile version that they were showing off at ExileCon. And you can see here, this is the main problem with mobile games, is that look how big these controls are. Like, how can you even see what's going on? Like, it's like literally covering your flasks and stuff. So this is like pretty much an emulator of sorts. You had some touchscreen overlaid on top of it. But right now, you can literally just plug in a Bluetooth controller or Xbox controller or whatever you want to your mobile device, and you can actually play PoE like how it is on the console, and it's not really that terrible of an experience. So PoE Mobile, for all intents and purposes, is kind of redundant because it already exists in the game now because of the, the advent of cloud computing and how you can actually hook up your controller. Now, the problem with this, and it is a problem more of technology in the long run, is that this requires you to have a pretty good internet connection for cloud computing, and I do think that a lot of people don't have the best network connection. Not everyone lives in an area with 5G internet connection, but that's pretty much a problem that will get solved over time. And next up is the controls again. Like, you have to have a controller. Touchscreen controls are really just terrible overall. But that's how, like, Path of Exile Mobile intends to solve it, is that in relation, they try to make the game simpler, and they will try to make a user interface that's more applicable to mobile. So that's the main appeal of a mobile game that's completely designed for mobile, is that you try to optimize the UI in the game as much as possible for the mobile controls. Now, lastly, you also have the battery issue. Now, the battery issue is pretty bad. Like, anyone knows, if you ever play any games on your mobile device or your phone, your battery is going to die super, super fast. And then you also have the problem, like, if someone calls you on your mobile device, you have to, like, disconnect from the server, and then you have to reconnect to the cloud gaming server, and any notifications on your phone kind of messes it up. But that's mainly all just from the technology not really being that fleshed out yet. It's kind of still in its infancy stage. A lot of companies are still trying to figure out how do you get more battery on your phone. And that's kind of something that we just have to figure out. But regardless, Path of Exile Mobile is pretty much being developed because it's a great source of additional revenue for GGG. Now, I'm not really sure how this also factors into how GGG is owned by Tencent and how mobile gaming is absolutely huge in China. So you can bet your ass that GGG is going to give out the mobile version of the game to Tencent, and it's going to be a huge, huge success in China. I'm almost positive about it. But we'll see how it really affects GGG in the long run, because if PoE Mobile does end up generating more money than the PC version of the game, and it is very possible if PoE Mobile is actually fully released in Asia, hopefully all of this extra income will lead to more polished updates and more in-depth leagues, and this should be really, really good, right, for the future of the game. More revenue will always mean that a company who has good intentions, and I do believe that GGG has good intentions, will lead to a better, more polished product. You'll have more QA testers, you have a better UI in the game, and you have leagues with a lot more polish to it and a lot more depth to it. So I do think that's something that we can probably look forward to with the advent of mobile. Now, cloud gaming, I do think, is the future on all mobile devices. I do think that mobile gaming will become all about cloud gaming. Now, the only things that needs to be solved is the battery life, the phones exploding, and better internet connection for most people. But as I said before, Path of Exile Mobile is actually already out. If you want to try it out, you can use Geforce now. And as long as you have a Bluetooth controller or something like that, you'll get a pretty good experience overall. There's also some tutorials online about how you can add a loop filter and stuff like that. But let me know down in the comments below if you want to see me actually get Geforce now, do a little demonstration maybe on BlueStacks or something of how Path of Exile actually plays out on a mobile device. But thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know if you actually tried out PoE Mobile on Geforce now in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more meters, divines, exalts than me, and see you next time. Bye!